Hi guys, welcome to another review video. I've been away for a while, but it was only for a purpose. Today I have with me something special right here. We have with us Samsung HW-B650 soundbar, 430 watts. And believe me or not, this thing might look so small, but it's so amazing and so unbelievable. And what also made me to pick it up for review is the price tag on this particular soundbar. It goes for around 259 USD. And having tested it and listened to how it sounds, I think you guys should give it a chance. So let me just get the camera closer. We have a look at it, the body design, the ports, the design of the subwoofer, and everything else that you need to know about this soundbar. And just before we get to that, guys, don't forget to leave a like on this video. And as usual, don't forget to subscribe to this account if you are new to the channel. This is where you get all the detailed reviews and genuine reviews of soundbars and laptops and even televisions with time. So stick around and let's get straight into our review. So right in front of us is the Samsung HW-B650 soundbar, and you can see how it looks. This is the closer view. We have this metallic wire mesh covering the front firing speakers on the bar, and then we have carbon cover on top that feels very premium. It's smooth, tough. It can withstand at least shocks in case this soundbar falls on the ground. And right here you can see something. There is something that looks like a hole, a diaphragm, like a speaker. I'll explain further what that is. And right on top here we have the buttons. This is the power button, we have the plus button, volume down button, and then we have this icon that indicates source. So even in case you don't have the remote, you can still manage most of your configurations right here. This is how the other side looks like. Have a keen look at how the wire mesh is on the sides also, apart from being on the front side. This is how underneath the bar looks like. See, we have also some ventilations right here that are very important. This is where the motherboard is. This enhances the cooling of the motherboard. And then on this other side is how it actually looks like. The bottom cover, it's not just like any other bottom cover for any other soundbar or any other electronic device. We have some special parts right over here, like these rubbers. We have a rubber right over here. You can see the rubber how it is, and it's lifted to a certain height. We also have another rubber here. These rubbers help the soundbar to have proper grip on the table. When you place it on a TV stand, then remember it will be lying on these rubbers, so it will have proper grip on the table, so it doesn't slide off the table from either sides or front easily. We also have mounting holes right over here. So we have one hole right here, then another one here. This one helps for mounting. In case you want to mount your soundbar and you don't want to place it on the table, then you'll mount it using these two holes we have right over there. In terms of ports, now we have power port right over here, and we can see right on top here it's written, I don't know if it's visible, but you can see it's written DC 24 volts. So the charger, it's actually 24 volts power input. Over there you can see we have USB 5 volts. So this is where the USB port is. Don't know if it will be visible from there. Let me just try it. Yeah, this is the USB port, and then this is the power port. But there's also something interesting with the power port, because remember this is DC 24 volts, so it doesn't use AC power, but you'll be using DC power. And what I like about this is the power supply to this particular soundbar. So on the bar we only have the motherboard, and we don't have anything to do with power supply on the motherboard. So having it externally like this means in case you have any power issues or maybe power surge with the electricity, then the first thing that will get hit is the adapter. And it's easier to replace the adapter because the adapter is affordable and cheaper compared to repairing the power supply on the soundbar. So this was a plus for this soundbar. Having the power supply differently away from the bar was just a plus for Samsung. And this is how the pin looks like. It goes in through the power jack that I showed you there. Let me just put it back in. There. And from there you have a very long cable that you can connect to your power source wherever it is. And then on this other side you also have some very crucial ports. We also have some very crucial ports right over here. You can see the first one we have HDMI port, and then we have another HDMI port. This is just pure HDMI port, and then the second one, it's written HDMI ARC. See, HDMI ARC to TV. So you can directly connect your television to this soundbar using the HDMI ARC port, so that you get to listen to the sound coming from your TV to the soundbar using this specific port, HDMI ARC. But remember, when you connect it to this HDMI ARC port right over here, you connect to the same port on the TV. Ensure your TV has the same HDMI ARC port for equal configuration for it to function. Then we have another port that is covered here. This is the optical port. You can see it's covered. It's normally the optical port, and it's also a sound interface for connecting your soundbar to television. Once again, if you want to connect the soundbar to your television using optical port, you have to ensure that your TV also has an optical port. And then underneath it, there's nothing much left. We have the screws just to, in case maybe for repairing, and then what, we have screws that are holding up the soundbar. Then here is where we have the specific model or labeling of this soundbar. Remember, it was Samsung HW-B650. You can see it's B series, that's why you have the B. We also have Q series, you have Y series, so but this is B series, and then it's of 430 watts. The power consumption you see on this bar alone is 25 watts. It's very efficient in terms of power consumption because the bar alone consumes 25 watts, and it's also 24 voltage for DC. Right over here you see we have Dolby audio support, we have Dolby digital surround, we have HDMI support, and then we have this is the energy rating star, to mean that the soundbar does not consume so much power. Remember, you're living in a time where electricity cost is so expensive, and therefore any electronic gadget you're using should not be consuming so much power. And that's why I think Samsung really worked on power consumption. You get better sound quality but at a lower power consumption. Remember, this soundbar is 3.1, but we have something here, Dolby digital and digital surround. There is a feature that they add to this soundbar that I'll explain to you later when we are doing sound tests. Yeah. Just before I forget, this soundbar is around 1 meter long. We have 1 meter long for the bar, the height. Then right over here, it's around 10 centimeters, and then the thickness is around 5 centimeters, so it's not that thick. The height is so comfortable, even if you're placing it underneath your television. Remember, if you place it on a TV stand, maybe your TV has the legs standing on the legs. So this particular height we have over here, it's at least shorter than the legs of the TV, so that when you place it underneath the TV, it doesn't cover even the labeling of the TV where we have the logo and the rest. So it was designed with the TV stands in mind, so that you have a premium placement. You don't have to adjust anything for it to fit in underneath your television. Be it a small television of 32 inch, 50 inches, it will still fit underneath the TV. That's why you have that thickness over there. And then it's a bit weighty. It's a bit weighty because this bar alone weighs around 3.1 kilograms. So that's due to the speakers we have over here. And remember, it was 3.1, so we have three speakers, front firing speakers on the bar. We have one right over here. There's another one, center speaker here, that is so crucial, center speaker. And then we have another speaker on the right hand side. So a total of 3 speakers. And then in between we have 2 tweeters. We have tweeter on this side and the other on that side. So it makes the total configuration for speakers, drivers we have right over here to be 3 plus 2, that is 5. Yeah, but still it's a 3.1 channel because we have 3 main speakers. The 2 are just tweeters. On the soundbar, this is the soundbar. It's not that the subwoofer is not that big. I know most of us expect subwoofers to be big so that they perform better, but believe me or you, Samsung really worked on this one, and it's so amazing that Samsung devices never disappoint, because this one, even with the dimension we have on the subwoofer, because the height we have over here is around this is around 38 centimeters, then we have around 29 centimeters right over here, and 18 centimeters. So it's not that big. It's sizable and it's manageable subwoofer. Amount of bass coming from this subwoofer, the sound engineering for the subwoofer was so top notch, because it produces deeper bass, and you'll see that when you do sound tests in the next phase of this review. Subwoofer driver you have over here is not that big. It's around 6 inches, and you can see even how small it is. We have a closing material just to cover the subwoofer interface, and it's not removable. But mine is a bit dirty because maybe the environment, but you can use another soft piece of cloth to wipe it off to make it clean. And the power consumption of this subwoofer, it uses AC now. This one is direct power. We plug it direct to the socket. This is the terminal right over here. You plug it direct to the socket, and then you have this part right over here. Let me just try and remove it. Yeah, you see? So this is just plug and play. And remember, it's wireless. It's wireless. We have these icons right over here, indicators. Yeah, we have the ID reset. This is just reset button in case the subwoofer does not pair with the soundbar. You press here to connect. It's a wireless connection, so you don't need to have so many wires in the house. Then here we have the specifications of the subwoofer. The model, once again, you see, it's a HW-B650. And then it's 45 watts. So the power consumption for the subwoofer alone is 45 watts. And 45 watts does not mean that it's underpowered, yeah? Because the sound quality coming from this, it's even much more than subwoofers I've reviewed. Some of them have 230 watts, but the performance of this particular subwoofer is so much higher quality. And then you can see this is where we have the breather, and the subwoofer is made of just the hood. You can see it's very visible from right over here, but the finishing is perfect. We have a very smooth surface that is waterproof. You see, but water will only get to damage the subwoofer if you allow water to get in through these parts we have over here. I think they should have worked on these so that they cover it, because most of the time you find us placing the subwoofers on the floor, and whenever you have water spillage in the house, then it will definitely absorb that water, and these parts will swell and the woofer won't perform well. So, but on this side, I think it's better. Yeah, they should have just worked on this other side. Much has been said, let us put it to test. I'm in a big room, quite a big room here, and let's see how it performs. I'm going to test it with the subwoofer right on the table, and then I place the subwoofer somewhere in the corner. We feel how it sounds, and you let me know in the comment section if you think this is something you're going to give a chance, or you're going to look at a bigger one than this one. Just before you do sound test, I was forgetting to explain to you how the remote, this is how the remote looks like. Remember, it's a used one, so the remote is a bit worn out, but at least the labeling on the remote is still very visible. So here we have the channel control, we have settings here, we have subwoofer control on the remote. You can adjust the volume just by sliding up. The remote can see what's happening on the indicator. You can see it's working. So this is where we have the sensor, and this display helps us to at least know what's connected to the soundbar or the source that we are currently using. So if I change the source mode to, let's say, USB-C, it's changing. You can change it to HDMI mode, and then you have Bluetooth mode. So this display is very advantageous because some of the soundbars do not have this display you have over here, so you won't even know what's happening on the bar, and you'll see on some other soundbars that I'm going to review. And I think having this display is just a plus for this particular soundbar. Then on the remote, remember, we have subwoofer control. As I said earlier, we have sound mode control, we have the mute icon, we have source, pair Bluetooth. And if you're a person who has a Samsung TV, then you won't even need to have this particular remote, because you can use this remote to control the television and the soundbar both at the same time. Let's dive right into it and do the sound test that you've been waiting for. Now that was sound test without the subwoofer being connected. Now let's connect the subwoofer. So the subwoofer is connected. Let's do a sound test with the subwoofer connected now. We see, or find out how it sounds with the subwoofer connected. let's do the sound test with the subwoofer placed at the corner instead of the top, because you can feel how deep that subwoofer is. Let me just move it from here. And it's not that heavy, it's not that heavy. You can lift it up with just one hand. Yeah, I think that corner is good. And then test this other corner too, you see. So it's there, the bar is there. Let's continue with the sound test. Just a minute, you can feel the difference. You can feel the difference of placing the subwoofer on the corner and having it on the top. You can feel the difference? Just add volume. Yeah, he felt that. So I'm going to move it away from the door because you have the wooden part right over there. Let me just place it at this corner because I feel this is the perfect corner. So let's see. Yeah. So yeah. Remember, it's wireless, so you can move it anyhow you want, because just connect to the bar wirelessly. You don't need to have so much wires connecting there and there. Only the power supply cables. Don't mind about my flow, but let's continue with the sound test now. Let me just put in this. Yeah. And so, having done a sound test of this particular soundbar, I know maybe you might be having your own thoughts or conclusion concerning that bar. But remember, I said it was 3.1 soundbar because we have three main drivers on this particular soundbar. But that does not make it weaker, because it has Dolby Digital support, and then it has also DTS surround advantage. That means when it's on function or when it's on use, it creates a mode of 5.1 listening experience, whereby you have the three main speakers pushing the sound towards you, and then you have the side ones creating just that surround environment for you. For sound mode settings, that is something that I couldn't be able to show you there, but it has around 5 different sound mode settings. We have movie mode, we have adaptive mode. Adaptive, it's like what you call currently AI, because it can detect the type of sound coming from the soundbar, whether it's music or whether it's you're listening to a dialogue or you're listening to a podcast, and so that you can be able to adjust the sound settings you get to listen to whatever you're listening to clearly or crispy. Then we have music mode. That one now is for music lovers. And then we also have another sound mode we call, there's a movie mode. If you're a movie personality, you love enjoying watching movies, then this particular soundbar won't let you down on watching movies, because remember, right at the center of it, there, just at the center, we have a very powerful center speaker that directs the sound directly towards you for that clear listen at the conversation that's happening on the screen or the voice sound coming from the soundbar. So it's being helped by the other speakers we have on the side. And another thing that maybe I just love to emphasize about this soundbar is this particular subwoofer we have over here. The subwoofer might look so small. I've tried placing it at the corners of this room where I am, and you can tell even from the test that at the corners, yes, there's big improvement in the bass, but even if you place it on the table or wherever on the TV stand, it still brings out that quality of this bar. So I think the sound engineering was so top notch that even the placement of the subwoofer does not affect so much the bass quality or the deepness of the bass coming from the bar. That was a plus for this soundbar. Maybe you can let me know in the comment section what you think about this particular Samsung soundbar of 430 watts. If you got a chance of buying it, will you go for it, or will you go for something higher, or maybe a different brand? Because from this review you can tell. And once again, don't forget to leave a like on this particular video. I always and will always appreciate you liking this video, and I will always appreciate you subscribing to this account so that you don't miss out on the next soundbar review that I'm going to do, because I promise you it's going to be better, bigger, and it will be worth it. Let's meet in the next one.